It's time for Owin's Field Report, sponsored by Les Schwab Tire Centers.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, this week for me was honestly work for a day or two. Also, my daughter was gone for 3 or 4 days for outdoor school, which being an old guy like me with one kid, Eve and I were like, what in the world are we doing here? It was kind of interesting how it was just a weird feeling, and all you parents out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I did get a chance to get out this week. We did some filming with one of our other brand new sponsors, Onyx Off-Road, and we used the Chevy Silverado for its purpose and did some four-wheeling and learned quite a bit about the truck and a lot about Onyx Off-Road. You'll hear more about that as going forward, but super cool to get out there with those folks, and one, just to get into the woods and just not care how dirty I got the Silverado. Problem is, now I gotta wash the thing. That's a day-long chore, I can promise you that. But fishing has been interesting, not great by any means. The Willamette is a lot slower than you might expect, it being the first day of June, okay? This past week being the last week of May, pretty darn slow. Doesn't matter if it was in Oregon City or all the way down. The hot thing, though, has been shad fishing up in Oregon City, and then there's some spots that are in the channel that have been very productive as well. They're relatively small. But in the end, the shad fishing is nuts. Doesn't matter if you were on the Columbia or not. It's just the perfect time to go out and go get them. And in a little bit, we're going to have that Chevy Silverado tech tip where we're going to talk about shad fishing specifically. But overall, spring Chinook fishing, yeah, pretty darn slow. We'll see how things go on the Columbia now that, again, it opened up today and is going to stay open all the way through the 15th. And then there's the permanent rule for summer Chinook that starts the 16th. But between now and then, still chasing what they call quote-unquote springers through the 15th on the Columbia. So that, again, is below Bonneville in particular. So hopefully things are going to improve there. I do have a report from there this morning of a fish being caught. But, again, not a lot of people participating in that, at least from what I understand. So there's certainly some options that are out there. But before I go too far, remember, this past week or so, I was talking about this new bait from Simon Fishing. It's called Hot Tails, right? Now, I was lucky enough to be the first person, at least Dave, the owner of the company, told me the first person to ever catch a spring Chinook with one. Turns out not only for walleye and other species, but steelhead apparently love these things. And I'm looking forward to trying them for sockeye coming up here as well. We got a photo, that photo that we got from Dave, you can put that up there. This is 2 summer steelhead taken with the new Hot Tails. These were taken on anchor. Okay, this is just a hero photo at the end, is what I like to call them at the very least. But they have been very productive. They've been sneakily productive. One of these was with absolutely no bait on it, and the other one was with a coon shrimp. So, and that's the only way that I fished them, is with a coon shrimp behind it. So there's really some interesting things that are kind of going along with this bait. I'm not saying go out and go buy a whole peg. I'm just saying it might be interesting to put a couple of these, you know, in the toolbox, and, you know, just put them in that lineup and give them a try. When I go out and go 360 right now, it isn't my front line. It's on one of my 2 rods. If I'm on the Willamette in particular, I'm fishing it. So look into them. Fisherman's does have them in stock. You can find them at Simon as well. But very interesting how this thing is kind of taking off even a little bit more than what Dave was expecting. Again, the owner of Simon Fishing. All right, let's take a look at the fish counts. And when we get to river levels, you're going to see something different. I'm not happy about it, but we'll get there. Fish counts over the falls at the Willamette Falls, that is, not great. Probably something we shouldn't even show, but you got to still show the summer steelhead numbers at 16.7. It's really nice to see those numbers kind of come back around. They're still very, very low for what they would typically be this time of year. But as opposed to what they were just 5 years ago, when that number would have been like 3,000, 4,000. This is what happens when they do take sea lions out of the system, and hopefully they are able to continue to do so. Taking a look at Bonneville, the numbers have been pretty consistent between 7 and 1,000, and I only say that because I can barely say that, but 91,000 total, and that number did, of course, prompt them to open up the Columbia below Bonneville. Again, in particular, like I said earlier, make sure you pay attention to the regulations above Bonnie, below it, especially going forward. I mean, it's going to change from section to section to section, so you just got to kind of stay up on all that. But yeah, certainly there's some fish out there. I know of a couple caught this morning, now that it is, again, open below Bonneville. Now, fish count, or excuse me, river levels. They changed the format of how we actually look at river levels. So Ryan is doing his best to try to figure out the best way to get it up here. So when we show it to you, I'm assuming here in a second, that you can kind of understand what we're looking at here. Now, this is the Willamette below the falls at Oregon City. It is forecasted to make a little bit of a bounce, right, going forward. Now, on my phone, it was significantly harder to look at than what it is right now. So I'm pleasantly surprised at what you're showing me right now, Ryan. But not a lot going on. Just a little bit of a bounce forecasted going forward here, because we do have some rain coming. We'll find out from Katie Suniga in just a little bit what we can really expect there. But let's take a look at what it shows for, oh, there you go. There's the turbidity. That's kind of an interesting one. Typically, you'll see that sometimes where it'll just drop off. Like could have been something on the actual sender, if you're familiar with how this is done, and then it came off. Who knows? But the turbidity is not an issue on the Willamette. And then taking a look at the Columbia River, it is forecasted to start to go up a little bit. Now, these numbers aren't, see, that's where we're going to miss it, Ryan, is we just don't know what the foot is, but it's still very low overall. Looks like it might get up close to the 6s or 7s, but we'll figure that out. As we go forward with this new format for the river levels, we'll make sure to get that ironed out. And there's the turbidity for the Columbia. I'd rather have it like that than gin clear like the Willamette, quite personally. Don't forget, though, send an email over there to Jason Hambley at Procure. They'll get you set up with a weekly giveaway. And yes, it is an actual thing for those that are conspiracy theorists. But let's go ahead and check in with Katie Suniga and find out what this weather is going to do. Yesterday was absolutely beautiful. I'd call today's forecast perfect.
It's pretty nice.
It changes quickly.
Yeah, and I was listening to you talk about your truck. I say you put it outside, put some of that no scrub soap on it tomorrow, and just let the rain do the work for you.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
At least it'll get the pre-soak going on, and then once we get to Wednesday, then you can start like really wash it, and you'll be good for a while.
I'm going to take your advice. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, today's a pretty nice day. I mean, I like it. Average temperatures, some sun breaks in there. Maybe a shower tonight as the system approaches. You'll notice not too much activity until the overnight hours, so we should be good if you know anybody going or you're going to the Starlight Parade. And then tomorrow, 9 o'clock, by the time we're together, you're going to be watching that radar. Should be wet, light rain expected consistently through the day, and then a break Monday. But there's another part of that atmospheric river that we're tracking that might come back into Monday night into Tuesday. That would bring us a few more showers before we're all said and done. This is what I'm talking about. An atmospheric river is just a narrow band of air that's just full of moisture, and when you have that trough go down and grab it, it takes it, it scoops it, and it points it right at us. That's the first round, Sunday, Monday. And then that would be that second round Monday night into Tuesday. Then after that, like I said, it's supposed to warm up and clear up. Here's how much we could see. As you would expect, as we talk about all the time, models are not in agreement as to how much. We just know it's going to be wet. We're looking at anywhere between 3/4 to 1.25 inches of rain total. Here's that 7-day forecast showing you the rain that's expected Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, maybe some showers in the morning. So Owen, maybe Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday. Those would be the best days for you to get that car washed or truck washed, whatever you need to do. And then we could be downright hot next weekend.
I don't know if I'm excited about 90s, although we can handle the 90s here for a week or two, okay?
I'm not too excited about it because I'm riding in the junior parade on Wednesday, and then I'm going to be down at the Grand Floral on Saturday, so that's pretty hot.
It does. That definitely gets warm quick, but we need the rain for sure.
We do.
As always, thank you very much, Katie. We appreciate it. Remember what happened a little over, or about a month ago when the Willamette popped, right? It didn't blow out, but it certainly popped. After that, there was a 3-day window that the fishing was just ridiculous, at least in comparison to what we've been able to experience this year on the Willamette. Look for that to happen this upcoming week after all that rain. And it's not enough rain where I would say that it's going to destroy the river. It might be just that the right amount of a bump where you could fish it on the way up even, and then when it turns over. We'll have to see kind of how that plays out, but we'll learn more from Katie tomorrow as well on what's going to happen there. All right, let's cut to a break. When we come back, I got Michael Laffey from the Mill Casino for the first opportunity to have one of our newest sponsors here on the air and learn just quickly about the Mill Casino there in Coos Bay. We'll be right back.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by P-Line, because we fish, by Hawken Fishing, perfection in fishing gear, and by Haxton's Canvas and Upholstery.